When we go to Desolation of Smog, and the birds have saved them and dropped them off by this horrible forest. And we have the spider sequence. I love the spider sequence. And what I love is also the establishment of the powers of the ring, where when Bilbo wears the ring, he can hear the voices of the spiders when there's talking. Ooh, this one is juicy, but it's not ripe yet. Oh, but it's so juicy, who cares? I'm gonna eat it raw. And in his listening in, again, he finds his courage, but this time so much quicker, and goes out there and just starts stabbing the spiders and attacking them while invisible. And we get this great moment where, after rescuing the dwarves, he still gets pulled off to the side, and the ring falls before another spider. And it's where just the first instance of that Gollum addiction appears. And he just starts attacking the spider with a completely different ferociousness. It's not straight heroism. It is a ferocious, drug addict, addictive attack where, don't you take away my thing. And this is a clue to the themes of the story, where Desolation of Smog is really about when we get to Smog, and this was my introduction to Benedict Cumberbatch. I don't count Into Darkness as my introduction to Benedict Cumberbatch because I think it was kind of a generic movie. But his voice, Benedict Cumberbatch's voice as Smog, was so beautiful and powerful. I was just like, yeah, like that voice is amazing. And the dialogue was amazing. And Bilbo finds the Arkenstone, which is the reason he was hired as a burglar, because the Arkenstone, a very specific glowing stone, is what essentially is the heirloom of whoever is supposed to be the king of them under the mountain. And in finding the Arkenstone, the dragon tells him, I'm almost tempted to let you take it. And to watch as Thorin Oakenshield falls prey to the madness and the thirst and the selfish greed that comes with the treasure. And this setup is so foreboding and powerful. Desolation of Smog is my favorite of the three, because Smog himself is such a great character and it's such a great conflict, but it's also really clearly stating to us the theme of what is the theme of the Hobbit story, is that sometimes people fight for honor and sometimes people fight for greed. And and really you see that each character is fighting for a little bit of both. By the end of Desolation of Smog, before he's actually interacted with the dragon, Bilbo has earned the respect of the dwarves and the respect of Thorin Oakenshield. Haven't we called him Doran? I don't know. But he's earned the respect of all of them up to this point. And now he's learning that by giving them what they want, he may be turning his friend into a tyrant, into a very greedy, selfish tyrant. And it's a very sad thing to be looking at. And what I love about when we get into the third movie, Battle of the Five Armies, that is exactly what happens. Is that Thorin, in all of his wealth, is so absorbed by it. And he becomes like the dragon. And throughout all of that, Thorin had made promises to the Lake Town once they got revealed as who they are. He made promises to spread the wealth and to be a good king. But once the dragon was defeated and Thorin had all the gold to himself, the greed kicked in and they sealed off the mountain. And you could see both of the logical or understandable strain of the horrors of what they had to live through to get what they had, but also the sickening greed that was overcoming him. And there's this beautiful moment where Thorin thinks Bilbo has the Arkenstone, which he does have, and Bilbo instead shows a little nut that he found that he wants to grow in his garden. And the warmth and comfort of like, oh, Bilbo, you are, even though I've come to respect you as a warrior, you are still that man who has a home, and that's a beautiful thing that you have a home. And when Bilbo suggests, well, why don't you just, you have your home now, why don't you just give the gold like you said you would to these people, and just make peace with all these people? And Thorin goes right into the greed and he's like, I will not part with a single. And he goes into slow motion as he's saying it. I will not part with a single golden coin. And these are the exact words that Smaug used. And to see the rise of Bilbo come with the fall of Thorin, he's falling as a character. You know, he started out with honor, and in an unexpected journey would face off the entire orc army to save his friends. And by the end of Battle of the Five Armies, he's willing to let all of his dwarven army friends, because he seals off the mountain, and then the five armies come, including a dwarvish army with his cousin that he knows and talked about in the previous two movies. And he's willing to let them all die for him to keep the gold and to keep the wealth. And again, he has motivation. He says to them, I was begging to live so that I could get my homeland back. That was the deal I was making. I was begging to live. And the great actor, Luke Perry, the only one I know, who plays Bard the Guardsman, is like, but you still made a promise. Are you not going to be a king who's true to his word? And all these things attack his greed, and he just deflects. And even Bilbo, at a certain point, gives the Arkenstone to the elves to sort of prevent this war. And even that turns Thorin against Bilbo, who has saved his life so many times by this point. I love that the Battle of the Five Armies, while we do have a literal battle of five armies, it's also thematically the battle of these five different points of honor your word, be good, be a good king, and do not be greedy, be a good friend. It's a battle of the five concepts of what a man and a king should be. Should you be greedy? Should you keep your word? Should you be loyal to your friends? Should you allow people to die for your selfish needs and desires? These are the things a king and a person must consider when they're out there in the world.